Welcome back, guys. George has cut his finger. What happened, George?
I was just cutting a bagel up actually with a bread knife, and all of a sudden, just I do it
Mate,
all the
what
time.
what is it with you and knives? Like, you came to my house and I came downstairs and you said, didn't realize how sharp your knife was, mate. I've cut myself. Like, knives are
You're a good guy,
sharp.
actually. I just remember that. Yeah, shit. Oh yeah, just love just stabbing myself. Really. Yeah. I don't know how
That weekend was probably just an absolute blur for you right now, mate, because there's so much has gone
Oh
on
yeah.
the last 2
So
weeks.
so much has happened, and
Yeah.
I was kind of glad actually you saw that firsthand and told me,
Yeah.
look, stop. Whatever you're doing, stop, because it was. You saw it. I was a mess.
Yeah.
Absolute mess. But it's crazy to think that was what, like 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and I feel like a different person. I feel like a completely different person.
Can change it all around, mate. Only a
Yeah,
short moment of time, few little changes, and we're all good. You're looking lovely and fresh as well. Nice tan,
yeah.
fresh beard,
Every
clean,
just keep
clean
myself,
cut.
keep myself polished. This sort of stuff that you get lazy with, you get content with, and I just want to look after myself because if I, like I said to you before, if I look after this, I look after the rest of myself. So it starts from here for me. All this is
Yeah.
an important factor for me. So keeping on top of it, feel good, feel fresh, feel energized, and yeah, ready to just crack on with it. I'm ready for it, mate. How's things with you?
I find it helps in the off season as well with the whole like self presentation thing. Obviously, you're quite light now, so you've lost a little bit of that. Well, you've lost a lot of the fluid, so you can see in your face you're already like you pulled it down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But now you're obviously pushing up again. It's those little things like staying on top of the hair, a bit of color, a bit of tan. Like
Mm.
that was probably like one of the biggest things that helped me get to the heaviest I've ever been in the last push up was just luckily enough hopping on some legal sunbeds here and there in the lockdowns that kept my color just about enough so that my face didn't look like an absolute moon, because you're lucky you can grow a beard. I can't. So when my face gets fat, it's a bit of a mess, to be honest.
I must admit, mate, I never really have problems when it comes to the face in the off season and noticing. I do obviously when I look back at photos, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize how fat my face was until
Yeah.
you start dieting down a bit. But it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't phase me whatsoever. I think having a beard does hide that sort of chin. It does, as
If
you can
you
see now.
shaved, mate, if you
Yeah,
shaved, you'd fucking know about it.
I haven't clean shaved since I was about, because I started puberty when I was really young. So before all my friends, I was shaving. It was all show. Oh, look at my pubes, all that sort of stuff.
You showed
And
your pubes to your friends.
oh yeah,
Actually, to be fair, I remember doing that as well. How fucked up is that?
it's
That's
so
wrong.
so
That's not
so
right.
weird.
Why would you do that?
And now I'm thinking, I don't even care. I don't want that down there. I'm more clean shaven now more than ever.
Yeah,
It's
same.
weird
Yeah.
how I've grown up and I get less body hair. When I was younger, it's all about how much hair you could have, and all your mates when they're younger having chest hair come through on their t-shirts, and then like 15 and they start puberty when they're like 12. I was one of those that started quite early, and I was one of the tallest people on my football team, believe it or not, when I was younger. I
Fucking
started that
hell.
early. And now
Wow.
everyone just shot up past me, and I've stayed the same. I haven't really grown since. But I haven't clean shaved since I was about 16. I don't intend to ever.
No,
Don't
no,
intend to.
I think it suits you, mate. I think the beard is an absolute must. If I could grow one, I'd try, but I just can't. So
Maybe you
maybe
got a little
I'll.
tash.
Yeah, nah, fucking hell. I look like a paedophile with that. So sorry, this
Oh,
episode's been so explicit. I'm so sorry if anyone's like kids are listening in the background. I'm so sorry. We'll cut that out. Do you have
yeah.
any clients where you like you've requested them to get rid of their body hair because it's like you literally can't see what's going on?
I think I've had that maybe like once or twice, but I kind
Yeah.
of feel a little bit bad and rude for asking them. Look,
Yeah,
can you
I
shave?
always preface it with like, I'm not being rude, but I really need to see you
Yeah.
shave at least a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the legs being hairy, but when it comes to like the chest, if they're very dark, like dark hair, like really dark, then
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
would
it.
say try and shave it for me to see
Mm.
what you're looking like. But I try and avoid saying any of that because I don't want to seem like I'm rude.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a difficult
How's
one.
things with you anyway, mate?
Yeah, all good. That was actually a few of the questions that got asked was sort of how things are going with the old prep, of course, because everyone knows that most of the time a prep is a little bit more, I guess, to talk about than an off-season phase in terms of just what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously I popped up some photos yesterday, and I'll just continue sort of doing those updates whenever I feel like I look different enough to the last one to actually sort of have something to talk about. Because the ones in between, I think I left it about a month, maybe 3 weeks since the last ones that I actually put up in that lighting, the standardized place, put up a few post-workout stuff, but I left it about 3 weeks to see some noticeable change. And I'm sort of getting to that point now where the 170s for me is like a nice lean look, pretty much most like all areas. And definitely that like the dry, hard look coming across the upper half. So when I flex now, there's like that more separation, and you can see the density to the tissue a little bit more, which as you know yourself, mate, just body fat hides the bodybuilder. So as you come down, it's just more and more like a bodybuilder. So yeah, they're definitely more confident with the way that I look, happy with the current sort of state of affairs in terms of comparison to last year. And yeah, I think I'm excited to see where I can get to with the current rate of loss. I'm still losing that sort of like 2 pound a week that we discussed, which is definitely the upper end of where I'd ever think to lose in terms of rate. I'd almost always have clients in a position where at this stage, 12 weeks out, we're going to start to bring down that rate of loss. But interestingly enough, we've talked about this before, being a bit of a case study on myself this year, I'm continuing that 2 pounds, and I'm probably going to be continuing it for, I've estimated, at least another 8 weeks. And that's going to take me pretty close to sort of where I need to be, I imagine, with what I looked like last year, and where that sort of 8 weeks will pull me down to in terms of total, pure body weight loss. It is going to get pretty interesting to see if I can keep pulling off those 2 pounds, because up till now, even like today, right now, I feel absolutely fine. Like it's no detrimental effect. I mean, after sessions, I'm a little tired if it's a big body part like legs, definitely a little bit more hungry in the evenings. But to be honest, and I say this to clients a lot, when you're in prep, you reach a point of hunger and the hunger's there. And then a lot of people, I think they just get way too scared that the hunger is just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. And what I find personally, at least, is that, I mean, yes, it increases a little bit, but once you're hungry, you're just hungry. So if you're eating 2,800 or 2,000 or 1,900, like, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, you've just got to eat whatever is going to elicit the rate of loss that's appropriate for your specific prep and your specific circumstances. And these specific circumstances, I'm accepting no less than, totally fat free. So I've got to keep the rate of loss up. I've got to keep pushing because, pretty much most areas are lean, but the glutes are just holding on to a lot more. But especially this week, which is definitely giving me like some good like signs, is that this is the first week where, you do the old, like, the glute test where you grab your glutes and you think, as the bit coming off there or there, like I felt them box off at a certain point in prep where that from the side, they just like sort of are not like one huge, big, mushy pile of shit. But now when I feel them, especially in the morning where I'm like at my driest and holding the least fluid, when I flex them, I can start to, feel the lumps and bumps a little bit more. So, you can start to feel where those striations are going to land. So I can start to feel that now, which is something where I know that every pound I lose from this point is going to start to show a little bit more here and there. The first signs for me is when they start to come through in the side chest and the side tricep a bit more, because I can get that detail down this specific side of the glute relatively comfortably. It's just getting them like from the back is difficult for myself. There's a lot of muscle there, but there's just a big chunk of body fat. So, but I'm committing myself to it, mate, as you know.
Yeah, I noticed actually with the glutes when I was prepping from the side, they came in quite quickly, but it's hard to really explain where the fat. Well, it was like near, weird it sound, near the actual crack, like
near the crack. That's the hard bit.
The inner side. I don't know how to explain it, but near the actual anus itself, that pinch underneath there is where it was just really stubborn, and you just need to keep going, then it eventually just comes off. Yeah, it's a stubborn one. I feel like your glutes are very stubborn, because you're up, even in your off season, like your back has always been very, very lean.
Yeah, it's annoying,
and just you hold a lot of body fat in the glutes. But I think, yeah, you know how to bring them. You did it in 2017, right? So you know full well what it takes to bring it in. You just need to do that again. But you've learned so much more since then that you're going to do it better and protect a lot more muscle than what both we did last time, So yes, glutes are very stubborn sometimes. I felt, yeah, for me, were they the last to come in? I don't even think so. Like, I still had like striated glutes. Like, I think the last bit for me which came in was just getting the quads up to the actual
hip.
Yeah, that's the hardest bit to get in. I think the glutes for me were quite straightforward, quite easy.
I think that was more for you rather than a body fat issue. I think it was more muscularity issue. I think the next time you diet, the quad detail up to the hip will come a lot faster because there'll be a lot more muscle there.
Yeah.
And I also think your quad detail will show so much more next time because your quads won't be a massive pile of fatigue.
Yeah, especially from the Stairmaster.
Fuck, like honestly, mate, the amount of soreness you probably had in your quads. I mean, they got used to it and adapted at some point, but I think the amount of fatigue that you caused there was just savage.
Yeah.
So very different approach for next year, hopefully for you. But talking about sort of building up to next year, things seem to be going a lot better for you now, don't they?
Yeah, it's my second week now back into the gym. The first week, I must admit, was like, wow, okay. I thought I would go back in and strength would be better than what it was, but it was quite poor on something, especially my pressing. Like, I went into Physique's gym and don't get me wrong, the dumbbells are heavy. I actually met, you'll probably watch this, Ben, one of your clients that trains at Physique's gym.
Merit, yeah?
Yeah, Ben. Spoke to him actually earlier. I didn't actually realize he was a client until he mentioned, and the dumbbells there, if you ask him, the dumbbells there are extremely heavy. Yeah. I don't know why. They're just heavier than other dumbbells.
Yeah.
And the first time around I did 40s for 4, and my best ever is 50 for 10 on
the low incline.
On the low incline, yeah. So I was like, fuck, this is so I kept to the D volume. I was like, am I going to really leave it there and just do one set? So I then did the 35 and I got 6, and I was like, what is going on? But I thought, right, let's not actually sit here and worry too much about it, because I've dropped 20 pounds in 3 weeks. Like, I've done a mini cut in 3 weeks. It went super, super fast. So the second week has been a lot better. I found actually my endurance has been the main improvement on the back offsets. Like some reps that I did today on things like I think I did an exercise like a tricep press down. I got like 11 on the first week on the back offset, and then this week I got like 16, 17, and it's like, wow, where's this all coming from? And my endurance is getting really, really good for some reason. It did hit me really hard. Like my legs, when I did the leg press, my legs were shaking. Like, when someone's never trained legs before and they're literally shaking, like, I was like that. I thought I'd never get that ever again, ever. But it happened, and I was sitting there going, wow. It was a little bit disheartening, but the feeling of being back felt amazing, and every single logbook number has gone up since then. So I know I'll be back to my normal self once the body weight comes back on. I weighed in this morning 163.8, so I'm about 3.8, nearly 4 pounds up in 2 weeks. I'm going to try and keep that sort of rate again. Ideally 2 pounds a week for the first initial 6 weeks if I can, and get up to 170 as quickly as I can, and then just get that. It's just getting that body weight behind me, because I can do it. I know I can do it. It's just having the body weight behind me now to do it, because I can feel it on some movements like stiff legs, and that I'm not as strong as what I was just holding that weight in my hands. It's just like, wow, it just feels completely different, 20 pounds lighter. And that's going to be expected, because I was eating 2 meals a day at most throughout that 3-week period. And then funny enough, when I took my Physique shots and sent it over to you, I was like, okay, yeah, my legs actually look improved here. Like, I'm starting to notice, obviously, through how much I lost, I actually noticed some improvements. And I think that's just because my legs were a lot fuller than my upper body, because I was taking diesel for walks still. So I was still using my legs, but I wasn't doing any upper body stuff for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's why I feel still quite flat. And you saw my photos and you said the exact same, like your upper body's behind at the moment, like it needs to be a lot fuller. But I think that's just going to be a time thing. It really is. And it shows in my strength in my upper body. Legs, not so much, but upper body strength is pretty far behind. So I'm determined to get that back up to, you know, incline pressing the 50s, doing stuff that I'm quite a good presser for my body weight, I'd
There
say.
you are.
So I definitely feel like I've got the potential to take that further. Now, like I said, I'm living and breathing. Just need to work on the sleep side of things.
Yeah.
Been staying up late. I said that to you the other day, that I've been staying up, just no real purpose, just staying up late. And you know, I get up earlier now. I get up at 6. I'm going to bed 11, half 11. It's like 6.5 hours, if that, of sleep. And
When are you finishing like work and stuff? Are you doing client stuff like late or?
no, it's just me
No?
sitting there. It's just me being lazy and need to go to sleep earlier. Because at first it was fine, but it's starting to catch up with me now, and it's like, wow, okay, this has kind of hit me, especially in the mornings when I'm doing work. Like, you know, when your eyes feel like quite heavy and you feel like they're closing, but they're not closing. They feel like
Yeah.
you're squinting a lot. It's a
Yeah.
bit like that. It reminds me of being back on prep. I used to have that feeling all the time.
Yeah.
When I
Every
prep.
day.
Every day like that. So that's the only thing that next needs to get sorted, but that's very minor. But the eating side of things is easy.
Yeah.
The training side of things is always been there. The training, that's never something that will suffer. But I've always been, well lately, before I got ill, I was slacking with the nutrition, but now it's all 5-6 meals a day, 4,000 calories at least. I thought the food that I would start, because I started about 3,500 calories, I thought that would gain some weight, but it hasn't been. And obviously, I think that's just because my expenditure is quite high now, that I have to take diesel out twice a day. You know, I'm doing, and I have to walk to the gym, which is like another 2,000 steps from the car park. Our parking, because it's not like you can park outside.
Yeah.
So it's a bit stuff, things like that add up throughout the day, and it's a lot harder for me to actually keep my steps down. It really is. Like, I'm trying to actually keep my steps down, but I physically like look and I'm like, shit, I've done that many steps.
Ah.
It's quite hard to do, if I'm honest, but I'll find a way. I'll find a way for sure. But yeah, all good, all good. Moving forward, feeling good for it, feeling slightly fuller. Just time. It's just time for me, really.
Are you off the meds now? Are you off all the meds that you were taking for the stomach stuff?
So I'm still on a course of meds that they gave me. I haven't finished it yet. They gave me like a couple of weeks worth.
Okay.
I've stopped the painkiller that I was taking. And a lot of people were telling me, like, just be careful of the codeine and stuff like that, because people become quite reliant on it. I've never had it
Addictive,
before.
isn't it? Like people are actually addicted to codeine.
And then when people told me about it, I actually started to, I wish no one told me about it, because I wouldn't have worried about it when I stopped it. But when I stopped taking it, I was like, well, fuck, are these pains going to come back? Am I going to start feeling like shit again?
Yeah.
But so far, so good. I haven't had any problems, and I've been doing blood tests at the doctors still, and they've been coming back negative, and my stool tests have been coming back negative. So I don't seem to be any issues. And that stomach ulcer that I mentioned about it's not even a thought in my head now. It's not a stomach ulcer. It's
Bullshit.
stress. It's
Yeah.
just stress.
Yeah, man.
Load of stress. So I'm glad I've sorted that out now. And I'm even starting to notice, when I do have stressful moments, it does actually make me my digestion feel uncomfortable. Like, I do feel like I want to go to the toilet when I'm more stressed. And when
Yeah.
I'm more relaxed, when I'm doing things like this that actually do relax me, don't think about it. Don't think about going to the toilet. So a lot of it is up here. It really is up here. But I'm glad I'm being able to understand that and take more control of it, because at first I was like, how do I deal with all this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And that's a lot to do with the smoking as well. But that's another story. I'm 5 weeks from that now.
I think this is just such a common thing, though, and probably a message that can actually help a lot of people is that, you know, I'll have a lot of situations with clients where they will come to me and they will say, I've got a digestive issue. A lot of the time, typically it's bloating. Yeah, I'm bloated. Well, first and foremost, a lot of the time, bloating is normal because we're putting food into your stomach. Your stomach will, at some point with food in it, feel a little bit fuller than it does upon wake. If you're going to bed or eating a meal and feeling like your stomach's out a little bit, that is normal, because that is just food sitting in your gut. That is not being bloated. Being bloated is like having actual pain and discomfort. That is what I would just diagnose bloat as. It's actually like discomfort. So when people are actually feeling discomfort, then the usual question that gets relayed to me is, what digestive enzyme do you recommend? You know, I get bloating, or I can't eat this food because I bloat off of it. I actually had a new client start like 3-4 weeks ago, and he listed out like about pretty much every sort of bodybuilding carbohydrate and said that it bloated him. And so we delved deeper into his eating hygiene, as we call it, which would be, how's he sitting down with meals? Is he eating a relaxed environment? Is he rushing meals? Is he, like most people, eating like this, which funnily enough you were doing, but that was more to avoid the thought process of the food, but that was just kicking you in the fucking foot. What is his eating hygiene like, and it was just all a complete mess. So all of the foods that he suggested that were causing bloating, he could eat absolutely fine as long as he just ate slow, focused on chewing his meals, which I know that you've put up on your story recently that you've been doing, or mastication, as it's well known. um, and yeah, just, essentially just taking time with food. And, yes, you can potentially at some point, if someone really needs to supplement towards a digestive issue, you can, but that really is often a very much a last resort thing. A lot of things in bodybuilding, mate, like people love to overcomplicate a situation, so if you don't come back as a coach with some digestive enzyme that's got a massively long name and you go and pay 50 quid for it and it comes in a cooled package, if you don't say that, then a lot of people will go and try and find a coach that's going to give them that answer. Yeah. When in reality, the most simple answer is usually the one that's going to work. I'm very much like always going to try and stay true to that as a coach, because the more you learn, the more you think you can apply. And the reality is a lot of the time, the application of that is just not necessary. And the basic simplistic answer is always probably going to get you to the root cause of an issue. So yeah, no, I'm really, really glad that you've solved things, mate.
100%. And even just like thinking about digestive enzymes, like a lot of people don't look at what's in a digestive enzyme, and then they're bloated, but they forget that in a digestive enzyme, there are acids which increase the amount of acid produced in your stomach, which that is going to lead to more bloating, more stomach issues. So you need to find out the reason. And I actually had a client the other week. He said to me he was waking up really full, bloated, and I was like, okay, what are you eting and stuff like that? And he ended up having like 70 grams of fiber per day, something ridiculous. And I was like, okay, can we bring this down? So I was like, try and aim for like maybe 25, 35 grams a day of fiber. And little things like that, believe it or not, can make a massive difference without even people really realizing. And don't get me wrong, I've incorporated more fibrous foods, which have helped actually sort my stomach out for sure. But there is a limit to how much fiber you can have per day before it starts going the opposite way and having that negative effect. So yeah, I'm glad I've sorted that out, and I'm glad to, because I didn't actually realize how much stress impacts your digestive system. I know it had obviously some sort of an effect. Of course, that's common sense, but at the same time, I didn't realize that this was causing a lot of my issues. Yep. And ever since I've been able to sort that, it's just disappeared. So since then, I've not had any issues really. I have, obviously, you have good days and bad days in terms of bowel movements, just like everyone. And whenever, but it's not nowhere near as what it was like when I even came up to you. But I think that was the worst when I came up to you. I was going like, I think I went at yours. That downstairs toilet, mate, got rinsed.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks,
George. Ton of times, literally. Sorry, mate. I made sure I cleaned though, so that's the main thing.
Next time you come round, we're gonna double check. Like we're gonna do like some sort of PCR test on your anus to make sure that it's like completely ridden of whatever virus you had there, the stress virus.
But, yeah, I'll call it the stress virus.
But yeah, like you said, sort of as an athlete, as a bodybuilder, as someone who wants to make progress, having a basic understanding of the autonomic nervous system is so key. Like what is going to pull you into that more fight or flight, sympathetic dominant state, or parasympathetic, rest and digest state, and outside of the training window as an athlete, you do really want to be in that parasympathetic state, the restful state as much as you can. And the issue is a lot of people in modern society just don't visit that state enough. We're constantly surrounded by things that can drive a sympathetic tone, which is, social media. You see something on social media, you get stressed, certain people in your life that you don't want to push out of your circle because they're in your circle and you feel like they're stuck there. And so they stress you out all the time. I have a lot of clients, message me and say that X has said this, one of their people that is meant to be their friends, and they've said something about them, and they're like, "Oh, that's an X has said this about me." I'm like, "Why are they your friend? Why are you letting this person come into your life and just cause shit, just cause stress?"
Yeah.
Because there's people out there like that, mate, that just vibe off making people's lives upsetting. It's partly because their own lives are upsetting in themselves. They just force it upon others. But mate, I just hear about it all the time, and I'm just, Yeah, I kind of been there and done that. I think I've had people in my life where I've been like, you know what, kind of don't want you here, and I don't really know how to get rid of you. But I wish I'd just been more stern about that in the past, and just
Yeah.
said, you know what, get out. So, if you have someone like that, that's just like bringing your vibe down, and just the best thing you can do straight out the gate is mute them on social media. If they're causing you pain on socials, just mute that person.
Yeah.
Because stress is such a killer, dude. And it's not just a killer of like the digestive tract, it's a killer of physiques, especially now we're getting close to shows. It's like I'm seeing it more and more often. You know, the people that are very lean at the moment, you get one, like I'm checking in pretty much every 2 days with the people that are very, very close now, and have a couple of days where they're not in a good place stress wise, or even the heat. The heat has pulled the look away from some people over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know whether he'll listen to this, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing. But him, do you know him on Instagram? Gym with him.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he had an allergic reaction to some like nut butter.
Yes.
Which I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm sure he'll maybe disagree, but I don't know whether it's something it'd be weird for him to have something really new in his, like, because he's actually competing this weekend. So it happened in peak week. I'd be surprised if he would have chucked something new in peak week. But regardless, my bets is that he's been so lean for so long, dieted for so long, that his nervous system cannot handle a small intolerance, and it had a massive reaction as a result. And another reason why I think these year-long bodybuilding preps just don't make sense. I mean, mate, what do you think is going to happen when that 3DMJ client puts on his tan for his last show? What's going to happen with his skin?
Oh,
No?
I don't even want to start. I don't want to know.
The tan's going to go green, man. Everything's going to go green. Just like yours. It's going to look like he's like not being funny, but it's going to look like he's got a disease. That's what you look like. And
Yeah.
that wasn't just the sunbeds. That was not your pH balance was off because you'd been too stressed, too lean for too long. That was the main reason. I don't think it was just the sunbeds.
For sure. I mean, there are loads of things to consider there with the skin and issue. And to be fair, in some lightings, mate, I still haven't recovered. I still have that scarring on my skin now from it.
Yeah.
Not noticeable, but like if I'm in the shower and like the lighting's shining on me in a particular way, I can notice it a little bit. Other my ex used to notice it as well and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that plays a massive role. I didn't look after my skin either. I'll be the first one to admit that. Now I'm getting on some beds, like I look after my skin. I exfoliate 3-4 times a day, 4 times a week. Moisturize every single, all that sort of stuff, keeping on top of it. But for sure, there's a lot of things that can impact your skin just through dieting and being lean as well. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, mate. There really is. Obviously, I don't think we should touch upon the 3DMJ thing, because you obviously covered that in the other podcast, which other people can watch, that sort of stuff. I think my opinion on that, as I'm just here, I think
give your opinion.
He looks fucking great, but like that is like peak week, ready to go, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out sort of thing. It's not 9 weeks out or however long it was. It was for me, it's just not sustainable. And I've realized now that no matter what food you're on, like for me, I was on my reverse calories. People say, people are like, I'm on this food though, like we're reversing calories up, it'll be fine. It's not that. It's the body fat you're at for that long period of time. Your body just goes, no, don't want this anymore, and goes into it. Like when I finished my show, that like I gained like 5 pounds. And it was like literally, I looked like I gained about 20 pounds. My body just gave up on me then when it knew I was gaining weight. And that for me, that far out is not a big concern, because he looks great and I'm sure he will still look great. But is he going to bring his best, and how long is he going to be competing for in terms of shows? Like doing back-to-back peak weeks like we did, competing over like I think it was like 5-6 week period I did. It wears you down. I just declined every single time, and we tried different stuff, didn't we? We tried different stuff.
So many.
It still didn't work. It just made me more stressed, and it just didn't work in the end. So, considering he's there now and he's got, another 9 weeks or so, and then he's got another however long, and where he does the finals and stuff like that, which I'm sure he will. It's not good, and the food is not something that works. It doesn't. It's the body fat. It really, really is. Because I was on, what was my reverse calories? Just over 3,000.
Yeah, 400 plus grams of carbohydrates.
Easy, yeah.
Decent amount of fats, decent amount of protein.
Easy.
And we'd started. You did actually listen. We did actually pull the cardio at the deep end as well. Your steps were very high, but I can also imagine this guy is like, without beating around the bush, you don't stay that lean and you don't diet on the calories he's saying he's dieting on without being someone that barely sits down, to be honest. And like, I didn't actually cover this in the No Switch Fitness one, so I'll cover it now. But like, I've been following this guy's prep for the whole time he's been dieting. I love his physique. I think it's awesome. I'd love to look like that from the back. So I'm going to try and get as close as I can. So like, I saw in his story, he was having, so bear in mind, he's like 10, 12 weeks out at this point. Like, his post-workout meal was like 450 grams of veggies, 500 grams of potato, and then chicken. Like, that's a kilo of food volume, a kilo. Yeah, that's not shit you want to do for that long. That's like a hideously food focused tactic. And then coupling that, George, his beverage of choice at that meal was a Monster post workout.
Yeah,
I asked him, why are you having the Monster? And this is no like hate on him, because this is all down to like the thing is, like, Berto and 3DMJ, that they say they've been working on this prep since 2016. I thought you'd like at least teach your client about the autonomic nervous system, that elevating sympathetic drive post-workout with more caffeine is a terrible idea at any point in the process.
Yes.
So I said, why are you having the Monster? He's like, it just keeps me going and I like the taste. I'm like, oh.
Even I was looking through his stories and I noticed
man.
He had a little cup of sweets, I think it was, little cup of sweets and stuff like that. I'm thinking, no, like,
yeah, it's just not a good place
each,
to be.
Each to their own, but it's just not how I would certainly do it. It'll be interesting to listen to the 3DMJ podcast about it as well. I haven't listened to your podcast that you've done. I will listen to that tomorrow, but I'll be interested to see what they've got to say about that for sure. Because in my opinion, it just doesn't make sense, and we both agree on that.
Yeah.
Tell us about the t-shirts, mate. I see you rocking the new tees. What's the plan?
Yeah. So this one here that I've got on is the slightly like better fit, so you can sort of see how this.
Oh yes.
It's like this one is probably be good for you as well, George, to be honest.
Yeah. So, very smart.
It just comes to the elbow. It's nice and fitted around the neck, which was really important, and the length just sort of sits like so. That's the sort of waist. It just sits nicely down. So yeah, I just basically mate, I can't tell you how long it's taken me to find a t-shirt that actually just fits right.
Yes.
So I fucked, some of the designs that I showed you, like with stuff around the neck.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried that, did like 3 samples, and it took me about 2 months to get 3 samples. So quite a long time.
Mm.
And all of them, like every time, like the neck just wasn't right. And I just can't be bought. And I said to the guy, I was like, look, mate, I appreciate we're trying here, but like, this isn't working. Every time we get a sample, it's just not something that I'm willing to sell. I mean, mate, I look like, sorry if there's anyone religious here or anything, this is not offensive, but I look like a vicar, I look like it looked weird. It rode too high. It was like weird. It's just not like I look like a priest or a vicar. So it's not really a gym look, is it? Let's face it. So then I just thought, right, okay, let's go with like a really basic t-shirt, see what high quality one you can give me. Let's try a few, send me out a few, just put the logo centered, make sure the print's decent so it doesn't come off in the wash. And then this was the one we chose. So yeah, it works well. So if anyone's listening, they will. So this is gonna go live this Sunday. The order's just gone in, so it will be 2 weeks from this podcast. You should be able to buy them. They'll be reasonably priced, so $24.99, so just under 25 quid. No crazy price up. Just a sensible price. Because at the end of the day, they are sort of a basic garment. They're a nice fitting t-shirt. They'll last, but they're a basic garment, so that's the pricing. They'll be available in gray, white, black. So I'd recommend, if you're sort of like a similar sort of size, like between 100 and 160, 180 pounds, that sort of like 20-pound bracket, and you're between sort of like 5'6" and 5'9", go for like a 3XL if you want it like proper baggy in the gym, like maybe like a leg day t-shirt. And if you want it like still oversized but it doesn't look as messy, then go 2XL. So there we go. And we'll do them we'll do them from basically medium, which is the size that Loz wears that looks like oversized, all the way up to 4XL. So if you're a girl and you would like one, I'd go medium or large. They'll be pretty good for the girls. Again, sort of like an oversized tee that doesn't look like you draped yourself in a bed sheet.
I've got 2 questions I want to ask, and this is a different topic now. Let's talk about the Formula One. That's big debate. Obviously, you went to Silverstone, which I'm pretty jealous about, mate. I can't lie, I haven't been there for a long time.
It was my first time.
Was it your first time?
No, it's my first time. We booked tickets really late. But yeah, what were you going to ask?
Talk about. I want to. Where obviously you wasn't. Was you sitting? Did you see the
most annoying place we were sat?
What do you think about the actual incident? Because obviously a lot of people are very
two-sided.
Yeah. What's your stance on that?
Yeah. So first of all, we were sat at the end of Maggots and Beckett. So all we saw was smoke from Max's attempt at obviously slowing down the car as he hurtled into the barriers.
Yeah.
Mate, some of the fucking iPhone videos of that crash are ridiculous. Like the speed he went off, and obviously because the tethers came off on the rears, basically got 0 braking ability. So it was just literally like the car going in at a pretty fast impact. So that was ridiculous. And we literally didn't see Max come around once apart from the formation lap. So that was annoying. So I'd have liked to have seen at least a bit more of the battle.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, so first of all, I thought that considering it's the first lap, considering that Max is clear in the lead of the title, it would have been a little bit of a wiser move on his shoulders just to run it wide. He knew Lewis was there. He was quite deep up the inside. Max could have just run it wide off the track and maintain position. Yeah. So as a driver, he might look back at that and think that's what I maybe should have done. But anyone who's like followed Max over the years knows that he just would not do that. He's like one of the most gutsy kind of drivers out there, and he won't ever give up a position, even if it's for like, you know, the bottom end of the pack positions. He's like one of those drivers that will battle for anything. So he did close the corner off, not crazy aggressive. He was on the line, but then Lewis also was carrying a shit ton of speed from the slipstream and the drive that he got out of the corner that follows. So Lewis definitely understeered, because the Mercedes is really poor at getting heat into the tires on the first lap. So he definitely understeered. He was quite deep into the corner. And then loads of people are comparing the move that he made on Leclerc at the end of the race to the one that he made at Max, which is just, it's not comparable, because Lewis was able to take such a tighter line on Leclerc at the back end of the race, and Leclerc ran it wide, and that's the only reason why Lewis got the place. It's not even comparable. So yeah, Lewis went a bit too deep, and then Lewis obviously hit Max. Like my honest opinion is that it was Lewis's fault. I would have Lewis at the blame there, and the stewards agreed. But then, how can you give only a 10-second penalty for someone who's literally caused a crazy dangerous accident? Yeah, you know, it's like this is the same time penalty that like Yuki Tsunoda got at Austria for crossing the pit lane line twice. Which isn't even dangerous at all. It's like, how can that be the same penalty? So, but yeah, mate, I could blab on about this all day, but this will turn into like that. I don't know whether you listen to it, but there's a podcast called WTF1. It's like, what the fuck F1? Yeah, they kind of like put it together like that. But it's really good. Like the 3 people who present on it are like so engaging. So I listen to that quite a bit. But yeah, mate, what was your opinion? Did you watch the race live at all? Did you watch it later?
I watched it later. I must admit I didn't watch it live. I I agree with you. I think it was especially so early in the race as well. Like you're taking those risks that early.
Yeah.
For me, like, and I know Hamilton I know what he's like. He is very ballsy of what he does, and he does, in my opinion, get away with a lot. And I think he knows that sometimes with just how he is as a person. But for sure, like he got way too aggressive in that corner, you know. And for me, you could easily just back off there. Like you go around a few more laps, there's already DRS there, you know, so you could have the opportunity to overtake him further down the road. So for me, yeah, too ballsy, shouldn't have done that. And when I saw it, when I actually saw, because I've seen some of the iPhone, the cameras like from TV and stuff like that, they never do it justice. But when you actually watch it from an actual camera itself, I think it's it's quite bad.
Ridiculous.
Like I'd be shit scared if I was in that position. So yeah, I agree with you on that front. I was going to ask you about the new cars as well. What do you think about the new
The
car?
2022.
Yes.
Yeah, immense. I think I think it looks ridiculous, but it's exactly what they need because it's everything that the new cars are causing problems like the length. So the length of the cars is too long.
Yeah.
They're a little too wide. So the amount of airflow that basically that causes is allowing no one to follow.
Yes.
So they needed to make the cars shorter, which is what they used to have like a long time ago, shorter, narrower cars. So there's less airflow. And then obviously the actual move, like the direction of that airflow is so much more efficiently designed. You can see it's completely different. Like the whole thing is just designed to drive airflow into a place where it produces more downforce naturally, but doesn't disrupt the traveling of the cars in the wake of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that'll mean that we don't just need DRS for an overtake, which is quite frankly bullshit.
Yes.
That the only overtake you can perform is basically either making a very cool lunge, which often doesn't even happen, or they just get DRS and they just drive around the other cars. Like that's not an overtake. That's just literally you just get more straight line speed. You move out, you pass, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, they passed!" Like it's fucking rubbish.
Yeah, I agree.
You know? And then the only thing that makes it exciting, really, at the moment, is like tire management. Is that racing or is that just being like a strategy driver where you just drive the tire correctly?
Yes,
it's definitely a massive part of F1, but how exciting is that as a fan? Not very.
No, not very. Especially now that back in the day they used to stop 3-4 times in a race, and now it's literally like once. You know, it's not fun.
And refueling.
Yeah,
as much as it was dangerous. But
should you answer some questions? I've actually got quite a few questions when I put it up. I was quite surprised because I put it up quite late, and I was thinking no one's going to put some questions up. But surprisingly, I've got quite a few questions about different stuff. Where are they? Its size, e.g. vacuum, can it help? Are there any other ways? Its size, question mark. I don't get that. Oh,
I got that same question.
Can eating high volume foods noticeably widen your waist? Are there any ways to decrease its size, e.g. vacuums? Can it help? Are there other ways?
Well, eating high volume foods can increase your like waist size in an acute fashion. Obviously, if you ate a load of volume and you blown out your stomach, it can acutely affect its size. You know, your waist would probably appear bigger for a short time period, but it would just go down. Can it affect your waist? Your waist and gut size could probably be affected if you just every day you kept bloating yourself. I mean, just look at some of the biggest bodybuilders in the world that have to really nail calories. All of their like guts are kind of moderately distended because they've almost just been adapted to that distension. So there is definitely some like merit in saying that does happen, but can you control it with vacuums? Maybe you could control that distension process a little bit better if you did more abdominal work and you had a greater control of your core anyway, so it wasn't going to blow out. But I think the main thing there is like if you're asking this question and you're below 200 pounds in body weight, you shouldn't be eating enough to have to like blow out your midsection. You know, and if there's a place in time in which you can choose smarter food options that don't blow your stomach out, then do that because that's arguably going to be a better route for you. Would you agree?
I agree on that. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed ever since I've actually learned how to vacuum, because a year ago I didn't actually know how to vacuum at all. But since I've been incorporating them, I couldn't think of anything worse than eating a fucking big meal and then trying to practice vacuuming, especially I just can't even do it half the time. I don't
Yeah.
want to do it because I'm scared about what's going to happen. But I certainly know how to control my midsection better just by vacuuming. So there may be a benefit towards that. But certainly, like you said, if you're, in terms of high volume foods, I would look at, simply reduce. Why are you eating as much high volume as you should, especially in the gaining phase? Your food volume should be. I try and keep it as if I'm eating over 4,000 calories, I try and eat the most dense food with the least volume as possible. So again, it's very hard to answer that question within itself. Should we go one? You go one, I go one. Should we do that?
Yeah, for sure. Got one up.
Cool.
Let me just get the question box.
Some of these questions, fucking hell. Who's got the biggest knob? What? Should we decide that on stage?
Measure it live.
Yeah, live on stage when it's the smallest.
Tips for helping the legs recover through high cardio in prep. You'll be a good person to answer this because I haven't done that in a long time.
I would certainly say, like, when you do have the opportunity to sit down and do nothing, do it. Something which I really struggle with. And I used to tag you my stories to confirm that I was sitting down and doing nothing to prove to you that I did nothing at all. So actually doing that does make you realize, shit, like just putting your feet up and doing nothing makes a massive difference. I would say if you're doing a shit ton of cardio and you're dieting, then I would say try and bring your cardio down and try and go through stages of learning to do less and appreciating that probably doing less is going to impact you in a more positive way. But when you're in that sort of routine of doing cardio every single day, like very robotic, for example, it's hard to switch someone off from doing that. I've never been, everyone says, oh, go for a bath, like the salt baths, that sort of stuff. I've never been a big fan of it. I don't like baths in general. I don't like laying in my own.
Too hot, man. I get way too hot.
As soon as I have a bath, I'm in the shower afterwards and cleaning myself because I can't lay there in my own dirt. I don't get how people do that, but each to their own. Maybe that side of things definitely does help. If you notice that you're really inflamed in terms of the lower body, again, it's just actually maybe educating yourself and realizing that do you necessarily need to be doing that amount, and is that amount getting you to where you need to be, or could you actually do less and see the reward from doing that? It's very hard to answer that based on, I don't know how much cardio he is doing. I don't know if he said, but it's a difficult one.
Yeah, he just said hi.
Hi. Okay. Well, hi for me right now is doing it once a week.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think also, I mean, you can look to use things like massage guns and all of these, the kind of things that like might have a psychological effect where you think you're getting some like relief.
Yeah.
But the main thing is just like the management of the work that you do outside of the cardio. So remind yourself that the whole goal, it's a bodybuilder that answers this question. So the whole goal with your process is to retain muscle, and that's going to exist in your training sessions. So, obviously your goal is probably to lose fat as well. Yes. And to lose fat, you have to create a deficit, but often I do believe that a lot of the best preps will be predicated around losing as much fat as you can without cardio and just creating the deficit from food. And if you do cardio, also choose it wisely. So do it on days that are away from legs, do it on the least impact possible, which for most people is going to be something like an incline walk as opposed to the stairs and the bike. The bike's going to absolutely savage your legs. Yeah. It's basically a leg workout in itself. The stairs, leg workout. The bike, it's a leg workout.
Yep.
So if you want another leg workout, use them, but everyone loves it in bodybuilding, like you love it, mate. I love it. When you do the stairs, you feel like you're being hardcore. But the thing is, it's like, what does that actually earn you? It doesn't actually gain you much in a lot of circumstances. If you can get stage lean without using the stairs, which plenty of people have proved, there's reason to suggest that that is a better setup for your prep. I mean, I hope that I can. I'll say I hope, because I can't guarantee anything, but I really hope that I can prove it this year that you can get into legitimate contest conditioning without having to touch a stairmaster. You know, like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to, you know, get your hood up and squeeze your glutes to get your glutes in. You just need to lose more body fat. So, you know, if you can handle psychologically eating low food and you're not going to binge, then I'd prefer always just creating the deficit with food. But some people don't prefer it that way, and they adhered better to a plan where they've got cardio in on the stairmaster, and that's fair play. So you've got to find the best way for you.
Yeah, for sure. I remember telling myself the stairmaster brought my legs in, like gave them more detail. This
I
and that.
remember that.
I was like, I was like, I swear to you, AJ, the stairmaster's giving me more detail. I haven't got these glutes because, you know, these glutes from the stairmaster, mate. But it's not. It really isn't the case. I mean, I do understand. Like, I remember sometimes I'd practice like contracting my glutes as I took a step up, but realistically, a bit like Kai, yeah. But realistically, it just faded my legs away after a period of time. Log booking, bicep, tricep work. What sort of progression do you use for arm training?
So I log my arm days all the time. But I'm very conscious that I often don't take progressions. And it might sound a bit weird that I don't take progressions, but I realize that on isolations, I'm not going to be taking progressions often. So I usually map out my session and I'll write down the numbers that I pretty much got last time. And then if I find something that I know that I've easily got a little bit more and I can find a little bit more, I'll go ahead and take it. And I'll obviously then recorrect the number. But often I'm just hitting the same numbers, but I'm aiming to just get the absolute maximum internal feel. That's the thing that's definitely improved my arms the most. And don't get me wrong, they've still got a lot of progress to make, but they're definitely better than they were. And that's as a byproduct of almost not chasing internal feel, but finding exercises that give me a good internal feel and then not getting carried away with the weight. Because I've been there and done that with the weight thing and the progressive overload for arms and getting pretty heavy on the curls. And I appreciate that works for some people, but it's the same reason why me doing a single arm dumbbell row with the 80s and throwing it from A to B like I did last year, and then telling everyone that this is what you should do to get a thick back doesn't make sense. Because for me, I can throw the 80 and I can still feel it in my back because I have really good connections with my entire back, my glutes, my hamstrings, like I can flex my erectors right now if you ask me to. Like, I've got really good internal feel with those body parts, but I haven't learned properly how to contract my chest, and I haven't learned properly how to really train like my arms until probably the last like 3-4 months, maybe a bit longer than that. But yeah, like I haven't properly learned, and I still got areas to learn, but I think that's the biggest thing that you should focus on when it comes to isolations in general, especially on weaker body parts. But for me, my arms, that's the way that I've run things. What about yourself?
I agree. I totally agree. I still log my arm training, but I'm not bothered if I do take progressions or I don't take progressions. It's more about how it feels, because the way I see it, if you can overload your compound work, your bread and butter, as you want to call it, I would say that's gonna, force some sort of adaptation there in terms of new muscle. And then if you can get a balance between the progressive overload and the metabolic stress from getting really good contractions, blood flow, and actually finishing in the set on a tricep press and going, oh, fuck. Yeah. I think, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people just assume I need to get stronger, I need to get stronger, I need to get stronger at everything I do. And it's true, but also people forget that metabolic stress, blood flow into the muscle is actually a driver for hypertrophy as well. And certainly getting a good pump is, for some people, like you see in the pros, like a lot of people, they do 15, 20 reps, loads of pumpy blood work. And it's like, even just looking at Nick Walker, yeah, he lifts he's very strong, but a lot of the stuff he does like 15, 20 reps. And his progression over this past year or so has been insane. And a lot of that is metabolic stress. It's blood flow into the muscle. And I do think that serves a purpose as well. So if you can balance the two with the progressive overload from your compounds, the metabolic stress from your isolation stuff, I think you're covering all bases.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't get too obsessive with the isolation stuff. Just focus. Does it feel good? Did I get a good pump at the end of it? How does that feel? It's because not all the time. We spoke about this before, like RDLs. Like I don't finish a set of RDLs or stiff legs and go, wow, my erectors, my upper back, my hamstrings are all pumped. I don't get a pump off that at all.
Way. Yeah.
I focus on just the progressive overload side of things. But when it comes to the arm train, isolation on like a line hamstring curl, I focus on, am I actually getting a good pump from this? Am I actually finishing a set going, oh, my hamstrings are fucking tight from that? And I think it's that's what I'd say.
Yeah, superb. Should we cap it off? Should we leave it there? We've run for about an hour.
Yeah. I think an hour is appropriate time for most podcasts. Too longer than that is too long.
I've got I think 2,000 steps to do and then last meal, so that will work perfect.
Yeah, right. I've got to take these out and last meal, and then telling myself be in bed by 9:30.
That'd be good, man. That'd be a good bedtime. 9:30 is good. That's pretty much when I'm going to bed at the moment, between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, thanks very much for listening. If you've been out walking, doing steps, hopefully this has passed the time efficiently. Yeah. If you're just sitting down, watching, eating a meal, then that's phenomenal too. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. We'll chat soon.
Lots of love.